Welcome to our panel conversation with IceStone Countertops and Mosa Tiles. My name is Maya Allman and I lead client success for Ecomedes. We really appreciate everyone tuning in today. We're excited for a very interesting discussion. A little bit about the agenda for today. In just 1 second, I'm going to give both of our panelists, Doug McCulloch from IceStone and Tyler York from Mosa, an opportunity to speak a little bit about their organizations and a little bit of background behind how they create beautiful and sustainable building materials. A little bit about Ecomedes for those of you that are not familiar with our organization. We are a software company that is working to solve the challenges around specifying sustainable products for development projects. So we work with manufacturers like Mosa and IceStone to help them digitize their transparency information so that it makes it easier for buyers to do business with them. Our mission is to help buyers find the right products for their projects, all while reducing the cost and impact of commercial buildings. After they give a little bit of background on their organizations in just 1 second, I'll give a quick demo of the platform just for those of you that are looking for that type of resource. And then hopefully we will have some time at the end for some question and answers. So feel free to drop your questions into that Q&A or the chat box. And my nice teammate will be texting them to me and I will hopefully get to all of them by the end of the call. So thank you. And also we are recording this, so don't worry if one of your teammates isn't able to join, we'll be sending out the recording following the session. Thanks everyone for being here. And with that, I'm gonna go ahead and hand it off to Doug.
Thank you, Maya. Thank you everybody for joining. I want to give you a little background on IceStone. In 2003, IceStone was formed, the simple concept, divert waste glass from the landfill and transform it into something beautiful. Therefore, the challenge was sort of presented to us to create a balance between great design, sustainable design, and also to make a durable product. To date, IceStone has diverted 17 million pounds of glass from landfills. We're located in the Brooklyn Navy Yard, which is 300 acres and 500 plus companies. We currently produce 17 different palette colors or colorways. Our slabs are 52.5 by 96.5, 3 cm, and they are polished. Currently we have a polished material. So I want to take a little bit about where is it made? We're located in a 55,000 square foot converted shipbuilding facility. We have the daylit skylights above, which provide plenty of natural sunlight in our cathedral ceilings here. It's an amazing place to walk into and every day. The energy is fantastic here with the light coming through. We have a state-of-the-art water filtration machine that filters about 90 to 95% of our water, saving millions of gallons every year. And we also use steam provided by the Navy Yard that not only heats our facility, but also provides steam to our ovens where our product is cured. I want to talk a little about what it is made of. So 3 ingredients to IceStone: recycled glass, non-toxic pigment, and Portland cement. Our glass comes in 2,500 pound bags by the truckload. We get about 6 different sizes and 6 different colors are utilized throughout our palette of colors. These bottles come from beverage bottles or liquor bottles. We use auto glass, lots of different channels for our glass comes from. And we also use mother of pearl in our pearl colors. And how is it made? Making IceStone is pretty much like baking a cake. We get the raw ingredients in, we put them up into our hopper machine here, which then gets poured into the big mixing machine. That mixing machine takes all of the different ingredients, the Portland cement, the glass, and the pigments, and churns it up, and it then gets poured into a pan. It's just like a sheet pan, typical for your cooking application. It comes out, the consistency is similar to oatmeal. It is then put onto our vibration table. It's hand troweled, and we get all the air out to make sure that it's a perfect surface. After that, it gets put into our ovens. Again, those ovens are, the steam is produced here locally by the Brooklyn Navy Yard, and it's cured anywhere from 12 to 18 hours, depending on the season and the weather conditions inside the factory. After that, it's taken into our calibration machine to get the correct thickness, and then onto the polishing machine, and then is taken for inspection and treatment. The two machines I want to point out there are the calibration machine. We use a tremendous amount of water in the calibration and polishing process. We originally were able to recycle about 80% of that water. Now we're up to about 95% of water we use during our production process is recycled and reused back into our system. So that is what leads to how it's made, where it's made, and what is it made of. It leads to our transparency. We are one of the founding B Corp companies. So that is people above profit and planet above all those other things. Cradle to Cradle certified. We're the only Cradle to Cradle certified countertop company in the world. We are a member of the Mindful Materials. We just got a kosher certification on our material, and we have all the health product declaration forms, and we're also NSF certified as well. So everything that we do here at IceStone has really led to this transparency of, we're respectful of the environment, we're respectful of our people, and we're respectful of the community. And that is where we are at IceStone, in making the most durable and maintenance-free countertop in the world.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that background, Doug. Sounds like a delicious cake.
It is.
Sure. All right, Tyler, tell us a little bit about Mosa.
Yeah, thanks, Maya. And hello, everybody. Yeah, happy to share with you today a little bit more about Mosa. My name is Tyler. I'm the regional manager for Mosa USA. Mosa's been manufacturing ceramic and porcelain in Maastricht, Netherlands since 1883. So a lot of rich history and culture and heritage with this product. So for over 135 years, we have been producing tiles that use the purest materials and really the magic of innovation of Dutch design. And we are the first and only, like IceStone here, the only tile company in the world to have Cradle to Cradle silver certification for nearly its entire tile collection. Now, while most of what we're going to talk about today is going to be centered around sustainability, I do want to inform everyone on the call today that we do also manufacture beautiful tiles, right? Please go to our website, www.mosa.com, to view all of our floor and wall tile options. And please follow us on Instagram at Mosa Tiles. So yeah, I guess we'll go talk more about Cradle to Cradle. You know, for us, the path to sustainability started with Cradle to Cradle. If you guys aren't familiar, please watch the TED Talk. William McDonough is a founder along with Michael Brungart. William McDonough does a TED Talk, 20 minutes. Will tell you everything you need to know about it. So what you're seeing here now on the screen really is the start to a Cradle to Cradle certified product. So even though William McDonough, Michael Brungart came up with the concept, they realized they needed to implement it, right? So they actually created a third-party certification standard. So it's the Cradle to Cradle Products Innovative Institute, and they test your product on 5 different categories. So you see them here. We're not going to go over them all, but just to let you know, it's more than just bottom line for Mosa, right? We actually look at all of these and how we manufacture and contribute to, again, the planet, the people, as well as profits. Yeah, so for us, what does it take to make a Cradle to Cradle tile? we're going to take a look at that. And it really starts with the ingredients. So raw materials really form the basis of the Cradle to Cradle certification. Products must be free of all dangerous ingredients, ensuring that they are safe for humanity and the environment. Mosa tiles do not release any harmful compounds during their useful life and do not damage nature in case of accidental dumping. Tiles consist mainly of clay and sand. Again, these are natural raw materials that are abundant in nature. It's actually the sand and porcelain that gives them the properties of strength and frost resistance. And ultragrass floor tiles, it's a patented process for pressing porcelain and wall tiles, is specifically using quartz sand, feldspar, and magnesite. And there's also a percentage of scrap tile within the ultragrass method. When you look at ceramic tiles, though, the glaze and the pigments, they only make up about 2 to 5% of the total weight of that tile, but they pose a real problem trying to remove lead, cadmium, and mercury. And even today, most manufacturers will use up to 20% lead in their glazes. So it's always good to make sure you understand the ingredients that are going into these products. Mosa wall tiles actually contain 31% pre-consumer recycled content, and our floor tiles actually contain 21% pre-consumer recycled content. There's a couple of exceptions. A couple of our lines actually contain 45% recycled content. So again, the whole idea behind Cradle to Cradle, closing that loop, we try to do that with all of our ingredients. So this little hard to read, really it's just a snapshot. This is our EPD, or Environmental Product Declaration. It really, again, it's a snapshot from our life cycle assessment. But there's a lot of interesting information here that, I'd love to share with you guys. So in order to achieve Cradle to Cradle certification for renewable energy and carbon management, we have to focus on continuous improvement of our production facilities. So in combination with switching to green electricity, it's generated by hydropower stations. We've actually achieved 48% reduction in CO2 emissions per ton of finished product over the last 10 years. And then during the same period, the emission of fine dust particles was reduced from 91% to virtually none. And you'll see an example of that in later in the discussion. Then the next steps, I guess, for Mosa in regards to renewable energy sources for the long term. Since 2011, the residual heat from our kilns, where we fire our tiles up to 2200 degrees, this will be used to repurpose the production process. So to preheat our gas burners for heating our buildings as well. This significantly reduces our dependence on energy consumption. Going on now, obviously looking at potable water and closed water cycles. I mean, Cradle to Cradle treats water as a scarce and expensive resource. So to put it in perspective, platinum level for Cradle to Cradle certification for water stewardship, it's where water leaving the facility meets drinking water standards. So a very high purification that has to happen. So in tile manufacturing, water is used throughout the production process. I mean, through material preparation, tile pressing, where we cool our hydraulic systems, glazing, even calibration of the final product. Water is used in every single step. So the goal is to reuse and to close this water loop for Mosa. And that's one thing that we were already able to achieve, again, within that cooling water for our tile press. This results in a 60% decrease of the water needed to bring into the factory. The water is processed and purified in-house in a water treatment plant, and the residual sludge from that is recycled back into tile production. So again, trying to reuse as much as we can throughout the process. Mosa's ambition, all water evaporated or reused in closed loops, so no more water disposal into the public sewer system is needed. That's the goal, and we're still obviously trying to work towards that, but that's what we're aiming to achieve. The social conditions, it's interesting to see IceStone's manufacturing facility. This is actually Mosa's manufacturing facility in Maastricht, Netherlands. So, almost half a world apart, and still that same natural light with skylights into the factory that goes into the social fairness piece. It's a great working environment for our employees, right? Nearly all of our materials are sourced from controlled quarries. So Mosa requires sustainable exploration of quarries for material suppliers. So again, they also have to put in a plan for environmental recovery. So a lot goes into just where we quarry our material. Is it done in a safe way for the environment? We also look at staffing local people. We mentioned the natural light and safe working conditions. And then you see here, it's a very clean environment. The reduction of the quartz dust for inhalation purposes we talked about is virtually none. And then these two blue machines, those are our firing kilns, and it gets very hot in between when you're working there. So they actually limit anyone's exposure to those kilns and how long they work on that line. And then the biggest thing for social fairness, I would say avoiding hindrance for surrounding neighborhoods. So this next slide shows a helicopter view of our factory. And what I like to point out, the really long building, it's hard for Maya to see, but down on the bottom right, right underneath the train tracks, pretty much from the bridge all the way down to the train tracks is our wall tile factory. And then right on the right, across from that, a 2-lane highway is a zoned residential community. So we really minimized the amount of noise and truck traffic into the factory. Obviously, you see the railways, so we're able to rail a lot of our materials in. And actually, about 85% of our raw materials are purchased within a 400-kilometer radius around Maastricht. So this short distance ensures that the environmental impact of transport is minimized. And for the raw materials that must come from further away, we do use obviously the intermodal transportation as much as possible. And in combination with just the close proximity to our key markets, this again results in more than a 30% lower CO2 emission per square meter of tiles. So for Mosa, that's just important for us. And all of this information is documented and can be found again on our life cycle assessment or sustainability report on our website. And I guess we would just leave you guys kind of with the same overall mindset, right? We talked a lot about cradle to cradle, but a lot of other green labels that we have, mindful materials, you see, declare labels, red list free, HPD, as well as EPD, and then the building codes on the bottom. So we're not just certified for LEED, we're actually an international building label for DG&B and HQE as well. So a lot that we can help contribute to any sustainability project.
Okay, thank you both. I really appreciate that background. I feel much more well informed about the manufacturing processes of countertops and tiles. I'm going to go ahead and launch a quick poll for our attendees, just asking you what brought you here today. You can, I believe, select all that apply to you, whether you wanted to learn more about these brands or find and discover a new resource that you can use on your projects, or you're just a green building nerd like maybe me and some of our panelists here, or maybe you just love Zoom webinars. So I'll give you a second to fill that out, and then we can look at the results. And I'm gonna, in the meantime, pop over to our platform, and I'm gonna go ahead and ask everybody, maybe somebody can pop the URL for me in the chat. Maybe I can even just do that. There you go. If everyone wants to just pull up the platform, we can sign up for an account together. It's totally free to sign up for an account, and there is no limit to how many users can have an account. So feel free to share this resource across your network for those members of your team that may benefit from it. I'm going to go ahead and give just one more second for the poll and then end it. Okay, let's share the results really quickly. All right, well, doesn't look like a lot of us need more Zoom webinars in our lives, but I think maybe some of them are better for us, right? We're better for watching them. Looks like a lot of people are really interested in green building and sustainable manufacturing processes in general. So I hope that the last 20 minutes of this webinar have been very riveting for you. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, and we can go ahead and get into this live demo. Everybody has this pulled up in another browser. They can go ahead and click on this sign up tab right here. Just got to give your name and an email address. I'll start getting notifications, so I'll know if everybody's signing up or not. But signing up for an account is really just going to allow you to save your work. So we have a project feature that you can access once you're signed in, and it's gonna allow you to come back to a project, save products to a project, do a full analysis. So I'm gonna show you that in just 1 second. I'm getting those notifications on my phone now that people are registering. So that's a great sign. I'm gonna go ahead and sign into my account. And as we do have other platforms, other Ecomedes platforms, it'll be the same login across platforms. So now you can see that project tab has popped up for me, which we're going to be showing in just 1 second. But first, I want to quickly orient everybody with this landing page. We have built the software so that it is easy to navigate and find what you're looking for, even if you aren't exactly sure what that is yet. So you can search for categories, popular categories based on these icons right here. Maybe you're looking for specific brands or some brands that we highlight down here. And then you can also use these filters in the left-hand navigation to search by category, brand. Maybe you're looking for products with specific certifications and eco labels. Maybe you're looking for products certified by specific certifying bodies. Maybe you want to look for products that comply with LEED. You can use that rating system filter right there. Shopping options, if you know you're ready to purchase the product after, you can use that as a filter. And then again, you can filter by CSI division down there. So quickly, just to give an example, I'm going to go ahead and click product category. And I'm going to click the building finishes. I'm going to navigate to some IceStone countertops. So I've selected finishes as my main category, and it's going to break out some subcategories that are available under finishes. So you can see there's a lot of categories. I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to look for that countertop subcategory right there. Go ahead and click that. I can see that the IceStone is actually going to pop up first. Our default filter is the impact score. So what that means is we are putting products with the most information, the most transparency data first. You can also filter by products with image, popularity, alphabetical, those types of things. And once you've found a product that you want to learn more about, you can go ahead and click on the product detail page. It's going to go ahead and show you all that information that we just kind of talked about in the last 20 minutes. You can download those certifications. You can find recycled content, general information. There's Doug's contact right there. If you're ready to reach out to him, get in contact with a rep. And then of course, you can always get back to that product page on IceStone's website. So if you're ready to, order a sample, get in contact with a rep, you can always navigate right back over to their website. So that is the product detail page. This is where you're going to find that kind of complete catalog of information that you may be looking for on a product. And to go to another quick example that we can navigate by, again, I'm going to go to building finishes since that's the category that both of our panelists are on today. And now I'm going to go down and select some floor tiles. Let's check out what we have here. Going to again default to that impact score. And from here, maybe I also only want to see the floor tiles that have cradle to cradle certification, because that is written into my specifications and I know I have to have that certification. I could even sort by level. All of these products are silver. And from here, I could maybe compare two products. So maybe I want to see these two Mosa products side by side. I can go ahead and click that Add To button, click Comparison. You can compare one brand to another brand if you'd like. I'm going to do two Mosa products just because that's what I have in front of me. But you'll know that it's in a comparison when it's highlighted in that blue line around it. And you could add as many to a comparison as you'd like. I like to stick with, under 4 because it can get a little crowded on the screen. And I'm going to click View Comparison when I have all of that ready. And this is just going to allow me to kind of line up those products side by side and see, is there any difference? It looks like they have the same certifications, similar recycled content, general information. But as you can imagine, maybe comparing one brand to a different one, this can be a powerful tool if you're looking to make a decision between a couple different products. Maybe I want to share this with, somebody on my team if I'm an interior designer, or maybe I want to get an owner's perspective. I could go ahead and copy this link, send it over to them and say, hey, check out these two products. Here's a side-by-side comparison. Let me know what you think. So that's a good way to kind of share some products, share some data. So that is the comparison tool. And then quickly, I want to show everyone just a brief run through of the project feature. There are things that I'm not going over in this webinar just for the sake of time, because I want to make sure that we have some time for questions. But I do want to show everyone very quickly the project tool, because I think that it's very, very powerful, and I think that a lot of people can benefit from it. So if I know exactly what I'm looking for, say maybe I'm looking for Mosa products, I can always just type in their brand name in that search filter right there. And maybe I'm only interested in looking for lead version 4.1, and I can even filter down all the way to the exact credit that I'm looking for. Maybe I'm going for a materials and resources credit. So I've filtered it down, and now I'm going to go ahead and add these. Let me just reload it really quickly, add these to a project. And for the sake of time, I've already gone ahead and configured a sample project for us, but really quickly, you can add it to a project from that add to button. Similarly to the comparison tool, you can also add a product to a project on that product detail page. Now, again, you have to be signed in to use the project feature. So you'll notice that this button doesn't work if you're not logged into an account. So that's all the more reason to sign up and register for an account. So I'm going to go ahead and add that to a project. I've made this office kitchen retrofit. So, maybe people are taking this time when nobody's in the office to kind of renovate their buildings, and all of their team members are going to come back to these gorgeous amenities, right? One can only hope. So as you can see, I have a lot of projects. I give a lot of demos, but it's going to roll up all of the products, or all of the projects that have products in them that use water or energy. It's going to go ahead and roll up that information, give you a nice ROI on all the projects that you've worked on. So in a hypothetical world where I've built all of these development projects, I can see how much money I've saved or how many gallons I've saved. So that's a really nice piece of insight to be able to share with owners, project teams, write case studies on that type of data. Go ahead and click on that project that I'm looking for, office kitchen retrofit, and I've put in some project details, who my client is, where the location is, contact info. I usually use the project description field to put in contact information, because once I've used this project, generated a PDF, sent it out to somebody, I want them to be able to, find me if they have some questions on it. And I've gone ahead and put some arbitrary pricing in here. It'll do a quick cost analysis for me. So, some quantities and some price. Click saved on that. And then here's that ROI that I was talking about. I believe that there is a faucet in my project. So it's going to show me for that time horizon that I plug in. It's a 5-year time horizon. Maybe I want to shorten it. Maybe I want to see in the next 3 years, what's my ROI? It's a commercial, maybe it's residential, different occupancy, how many hours per day it's going to be used. And then quantity, and you can compare it to a comparison baseline. So if it's a retrofit, maybe you want to be comparing this to the existing faucet in that building and see how much money you're going to save. So now I can come down here and I can add different rating systems. So before we kind of saw that one-to-one analysis, you can do this for an individual product. If you just want to quickly see, how does this product contribute to lead? There's a documentation button on that product detail page. But I know typically for a project, you need to do it for dozens of products at once, and you probably want to do it against multiple rating versions of the rating system, whether that's LEED, WELL, Living Building Challenge, etc. So I'm going to go ahead and add some of those. I have a version of LEED, WELL. We also have the federal guidelines in here. And now I'm going to go ahead and click evaluate on this project, and it's going to give me that cost analysis. And I can go down and see as a whole, how do my products in this project contribute to these rating systems that I've selected. So it'll show me whether that's a cumulative point value, or to just say some products contribute, all products contribute, etc. It'll tell me my overall savings based on that ROI that I plugged in, break it down for me into water savings, and then it's going to show me all of that information at a product level. So just now I had the project level. Now I can scroll down and see it at a product level. It's going to show me how many credits I get for each of these products, for all of those rating systems that I have filled in. So here's my IceStone product, and I can see exactly which credits I'm getting for WELL and LEED and Living Building Challenge. Same for Mosa. As I scroll down, it'll show me what guidelines I am compliant with. And it'll have all of that detail, and also the links will be live. So all of those documents, the PDF will be live. You can go ahead and generate a long project PDF from this and send this to someone. And if you send it via email, they can still click that button, download the EPD, get to the Cradle to Cradle certification. It'll all be at their fingertips, ready to go, ready to use. So another thing I quickly want to point out, for those of you that are interested in, when or how did this data get into our system, you can always hover over one of those attributes and it will show you exactly when that product came, or when that data came into our system and where it came from. So we are all about transparency here. So you can see exactly when I hover over this, I see it came directly from IceStone and it came on March 19th. So it's very updated, it's very recent. Now I trust this data source a little bit more. Okay, and here's that PDF. And as you can see, as I scroll down, all of these links are still going to be live. So if I want to open up that Cradle to Cradle certification or that EPD, I can go ahead and click on that link. It's going to take a second to load, and it will bring me over to that Cradle to Cradle certification. All right. Okay. So that is the live demo. I know that was a lot of information. You can always follow up with me if you have questions. Again, we're going to be sending out the recording of this for if you just want to rewatch it because I went quickly. And now I would like to transition into the Q&A session. So I know we have some questions filing in. I have a couple questions that I'd like to ask before we get into audience questions that I think just would make for an interesting discussion. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. My first question is about some of the challenges around being a sustainable manufacturer of countertops and flooring. So from a high level, we can start with you, Doug, and then Tyler, if you could give us your input on what are some of the largest challenges and how has your organization handled these?
For us, it's probably the supply chain issue, just making sure that the recycled content we get, we can confirm it's sustainable resource of where it's come from. We're also, because of the supply chain issue, we're limited to what we can offer our clients. We've had to adjust or alter colors, and just recently, actually, and we have a new color, Ocean Grass, which replaced. Replaced another color that we didn't have the glass anymore. But the funny thing is that we're actually getting more calls and more interest in that new color right now. And that was because of the fact that we couldn't get the glass anymore. So we have to adapt to what our supply chain can bring to us. And it's a challenge, but it actually sometimes ends up being for the better.
Yeah, I mean, the challenge for tile manufacturing from our perspective is, how to limit our energy consumption. So obviously it takes a lot of energy to heat our kilns to 2200 degrees. So there will always be some sort of energy consumption. Our challenge really becomes how we reduce our demand for energy. And I think we talked about a little bit about that earlier, and really to incorporate sustainable sources for energy. And then obviously use the energy as effectively and efficiently as possible. And so for us, yeah, just trying to navigate that energy uses component is a big challenge.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, and it sounds like you've already kind of answered my next question, right? Which is, what are some innovative practices that you've implemented recently to kind of mitigate for some of the impacts of producing these products. You've given us a lot of feedback around closed water cycles, energy use. Curious, maybe in the sense specifically for you, Doug, around recycling. Like, what are some of the innovative practices that IceStone? I know it was, your company was built off of the premise of recycling materials and creating something beautiful. So I don't know if you want to just share a little bit more around, what are some of the more recent things that your team's been doing?
Well, we're looking at recycling from the technologies and recycling. All of our recycled glass is post-industrial. So it comes off a bottling line that is not perfect, or comes from auto glass. It's not post-consumer. But if we were able to possibly go into the post-consumer market and get some of that recycled glass, would it make the glass more affordable? Because there'd be more availability of glass on the market, which would bring down the cost of it, which would then help drive down the cost of our product. So, that's one technology we're looking at. I mean, that's consistently and constantly changing. We don't have that avenue yet, but we're looking at it. And also just in terms of our concrete is always a changing. I mean, that's been around for centuries, and they're still making changes to concrete. We're using a little bit less water in our manufacturing process right now with our material, which is helping to save water. So, we look for these small they're mostly technological advances that we can kind of hop on and parlay that into changing our system. But, we've been a sustainable company since day one. We were one of the first cradle to cradle companies out there. So, I mean, higher standards have always been our platform. So we're always looking for higher standards in the different ingredients and products and technologies we use to get on board.
Yeah, and if I could just piggyback on that, Maya, because he's exactly right with ingredient innovation, right? So that's one thing we were able to do recently. We were able to really replace a natural raw material, chalk, with calcite in our wall tile production. So calcite is a more renewable resource. So really what we've done now, just by replacing that single raw material, is we've actually taken our recycled material content for wall tiles from 21% to 33%. So again, just always looking at the ingredients and maybe how can we think differently and still have an effective end product. So we're pretty proud of that new innovation.
Right. So even if something feels like potentially a small change, all of those come together and they create kind of this lasting impact of, okay, we are truly making the most sustainable product that we possibly can at this point in time, given the technology in the market. I think those are really good, tangible examples. And I think that that's something that people want to know about, right? What are the physical things that you're changing about your product every year, every quarter, to constantly improve upon what you've built? So I appreciate those examples. Quickly, I know that both of you have already mentioned that both of your organizations were some of the first to get Cradle to Cradle certification, and specifically are the only within your category to have C2C certification. I'm curious, thinking back to the beginning of when you got Cradle to Cradle certification, when it was maybe new to the market, what drove you to get that certification, and what were maybe some of the challenges starting out with it and updating your processes to fit that mold?
Well, as the story goes, I'm told, our founders actually were at a coverings trade show back in 2004, and William was speaking, and after he spoke, he was doing a book signing, and they came up and started talking. He said, well, listen, I'm starting a certification process. Do you want to climb on board? And they were immediately yes. So, that's since 2004. So that was really the beginning for us. Was actually they bought signed books for all of our investors, the Cradle to Cradle book. And so that sort of launched us into the Cradle atmosphere.
Yeah, we're very similar. It's funny thinking about that, because ours was a little bit later, I think in 2008. Again, this is before my time, but ownership at the time and management of the Mosa organization was in Europe. They went to a cradle to cradle presentation, fell in love with the idea of being something more, right, and doing more. And they saw, I guess, the parallels between tile manufacturing and cradle to cradle. So good for them to be visionaries. And yeah, never really looked back ever since that time.
Awesome. Well, I love those stories. I love a good story. Um, Follow-up question: how do you perceive the importance of C2C within lead certification and kind of that whole, larger process?
I mean, I'll jump in here, Doug. I mean, obviously, cradle to cradle is an acceptable product label for lead. Specifically for tile, we're looking at new construction and commercial interiors. So materials and resources, credit 4 and 5, really going into material ingredient reporting and optimization. So Mosa wall and floor tiles have they have a gold score in cradle to cradle material health. So this actually helps our product be valued at 150% of cost. So in addition, Mosa tiles can help contribute to heat island reduction for lead, as well as indoor environmental air quality, because they're low emitting materials. They're VOC free. So we have a lot of information on that. It gets kind of technical when you try to relate to lead, but really that materials and resources credit 4 and 5 is where we have the connection with lead.
Doug, do you have anything to add around lead certification, green building in general?
Well, I mean, it's definitely a component in the cradle to cradle. The cradle to cradle just elevates you to the lead certification. And as material health as a priority.
Right.
And I think that is the key there. And it's, although, we don't get a product credit for, lead is not a product thing, it's a building issue thing. It's a tribute toward the building itself. Being cradle to cradle allows us to get the IceStone product within the lead classification for materials and buildings.
Right. So you both have gone on this journey at some point in your career of working with an organization that has gotten cradle to cradle certification, has gotten many eco labels in general, as we saw the abundance of different logos on those slides that you shared. What advice or thoughts or insight would you give to manufacturers? Maybe they're small manufacturers, or they're just looking into the sustainable market and getting some of these eco labels, specifically cradle to cradle certification. What advice would you give them?
Oh boy. Commitment on the biggest sense of the word commitment. We've invested thousands of dollars over the past 17, 18 years to continually be up to C2C level. And being green is a long-term commitment. And as technologies change and classifications and certifications change, you have to continually adapt to kind of chase those levels that we try to reach to. NSF just increased their certification where they're wanting to test their products, the ingredients on their own. And we're finding that architects really want to make sure that there's a course, a direct chain of third-party testing on these products, and make sure that there's an independent company saying that yes, they're using the correct materials. So you have to invest in that process. You have to invest in, we've had to hire a consultant to help us lead us through this process. So it's not just easy, hey, we'll create this green machine and it'll keep on functioning. You have to add to it. So I'd say commitment, investment are the two most important things to being a green company and having a green product.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's worth it in the end, right? It definitely pays off. Tyler, do you have anything to add? Any words of wisdom for manufacturers?
Yeah, just to kind of reinforce what Doug was saying. It's not a straight path, right? And it's always a commitment to continuously improving. And that's what Doug was hinting on. Cradle to cradle, you have to actually get your product recertified every 2 years because those requirements change. So a cradle to cradle silver product today is not what a cradle to cradle silver product was 2,
Right.
4, 6 years ago. So yeah, that's just the only additional thing to add there, but very much you're going to have failures and learn from those, and it's a process. It's not an over the night certification.
Absolutely. It's all about the journey, not the destination, but
Yeah.
also the destination is important. Having that certification and getting there, I'm sure is a great achievement to have. I want to make sure that I get all of these questions that I'm getting from the audience. I think this is a good follow-up to what we were just talking about, which is which pillar of Cradle to Cradle is the most challenging for each business, particularly with the new version 4 requirements that have been released.
For us, again, it's the energy, renewable energy and carbon management piece, right? How can we limit our dependence on that energy consumption?
Right.
I would say that's probably the lowest score within ours. We have a gold score, material health, right? So that's one we excel in, but that renewable energy component of Cradle to Cradle for us is the biggest challenge.
Got it.
Yeah, I think that's our whole too.
Yeah.
We do it by buying credits and offsetting it that way. And we're always looking at different ways to sort of bring the energy uses down, but that's one thing we really can't control as a material itself, and it also fluctuates just in terms of seasonality for us and temperature wise. We have to adjust machinery and things, so I would say that's probably our biggest struggle as well.
Right. This one's for Doug. What is the glass to cement ratio for IceStone products?
75% by weight glass is what our material is made of. So 75% glass, recycled glass by weight.
And this question is actually what the three of us were just chatting about before we started the webinar. But are you or either of you having difficulties getting any specific materials for manufacturing needs at this time?
Tyler, you're probably having. No, actually, we're not. We had a little hiccup. We had to get a raw material out of the UK at one time, and we had a delay, but we had enough in reserve to compensate for that time delay. So then we just doubled our order. So we're very proactive with those natural resources, and luckily, because most stuff comes with that 400-kilometer radius, we can control. So the actual ingredients for our product to make, no issues.
Right. And how has that affected the lead time of your products in general? This is kind of more on the topic that we were talking about earlier, but what are your lead times? How do, lack of materials act as a limiting factor to shortening that time span?
For us, obviously, we're a European manufacturer, so we have to ship from Maastricht to the US. So it depends on where you are in the US. West Coast is different than the East Coast, obviously. But what helps with this is we do have local warehouse in South Carolina, so we can fill quick local orders, within our borders. And then it's typically 5 to 6 weeks. Again, you have to depend. The West Coast might add a week or two, but typically 5 to 6 lead time if it's in stock from the Netherlands, because we always have our own containers coming back and forth.
Yeah, all of our raw ingredients are stateside, so we don't have an issue with that. The only issue we're seeing right now is just in transportation, trucking, getting our packaged goods to the client. It's taking longer to transport things across the United States now. So we're letting people know that we have the material and it's ready to go, but you want to add an extra few days onto transportation because things just aren't moving as they used to.
Right.
Yeah, that goes back to that container shortage, right? Maya, we talked about before. So if we're letting our purchasers know, hey, you might want to reach out 3 weeks before you're going to need this, because it's taking about 3 or 4 weeks to even secure a container to ship. So all of that's outside of our control. I think it's a global problem that we're all still having to deal with these pandemic issues. But there's no doubt some delays just on a macro level.
Yeah, and just the importance of managing expectations in this time, being transparent with customers and clients around what that lead time actually is going to look like, letting them know to prepare ahead of time, and hopefully, you're like we were talking about, your products aren't the ones that are holding up the project. Sounds like all building materials, all manufacturers are experiencing similar barriers right now. So hopefully everybody's in it together.
I think you said transparency. That's the key word here. I mean, it's the key to Cradle certification, and it's the key to good business. And And so transparency is key for us.
Okay, follow-up question on materials. This one's for Doug. Is there potential to replace some or all of the Portland cement by a carbon sequestering substitute? This is being done in the cement industry, but I didn't know if it was applicable to IceStone products.
I'm not the cement expert here. I'll probably have to come back on that question, but we've changed, without going technically, we've changed things a little bit. Cement wise, but I don't know where we're headed in the future. Right now we have a perfect product. We now have a new treatment process that goes onto our product that actually permanently seals it. And it's now a maintenance-free product. It is UV resistant. It is more stain resistant. And that treatment process kind of cures the concrete at the same time. So it affects the concrete in a way. So we've changed that formula a little bit. So I don't know how it'd work with this other concrete process, but I can definitely look into it and get back to the person who had that question. It's a good question.
Okay, that's good to know. What would both of you consider the most important benefit working for a highly certified sustainable building product manufacturer?
That's a good question. I always say myself, like I'm so proud to work for a cradle to cradle organization because it's not just the bottom line, right? I feel like we are doing, so I'm not just pitching another tile to the A&D clients. Like I really am passionate about the product that we're selling because we are doing so much good for the planet and humanity that it's going to be lasting, right? I think we are innovators in the space, so it's going to catch on and we're getting there. I mean, we have a finite amount of resources here on this planet, right? And it's not sustainable. The way we're currently manufacturing is not going to get us 100 years for, our kids and grandkids to continue to thrive on this planet. So I honestly, personally feel we're contributing towards that better future. So for me, that's the biggest part of working for a cradle to cradle or sustainable company.
Yeah.
It's wonderful to work for a company that is so transparent about its product that it doesn't hide anything. We're open to people visiting here. We give tours all the time. People want to know how it's made, and that it's a great feeling. It's a great feeling to walk in here and know that you're making a product that is healthy. And it's we spend not more than 90% of our time indoors. So you want to make sure that the indoor quality is not only aesthetically pleasing and beautiful, which our countertops are, but there's no off-gassing, no VOCs, no problems environmentally with the product. So it's a great product to demonstrate because it's healthy and it's happy, and it brings people a great sense of joy.
Yeah, it makes it easy to sell because you truly believe in the product. I think that's a big thing that we're seeing with people entering into these types of careers. That's a huge factor for them. I want to be able to get behind the company that I'm working for. So it's interesting to hear about both of your experiences with organizations that this holds true with.
Yeah, it's not only the product, it's the people and the process. So
right.
if all of those things add up, it's a fantastic experience.
There you go. Okay, do you see architects specifying more sustainable building materials in the recent past? Has that grown a lot? What does that journey look like for your organizations and for you professionally?
Well, I think there was a report out by the AIA recently in 2020 that said that 79% of architects want to specify more sustainable material. But unfortunately, their clients aren't willing to pay for that sustainable factor. Luckily, our product is not priced any different than any of our competitors. Even though we're a green product, we can be very cost conscientious about where we are in the market.
Tyler, do you have any input on the
Nope.
growth of You say
Not
that.
really. I mean, I think the sustainable building products, I mean, we're a little bit spoiled here on the East Coast. I'm outside of DC, so a very highly sustainable city. So that's where I'm mainly focused on. So in the East Coast, yes, we see that. Even if they're not going for LEED certification, they still will want certain level of a green building code, let's call it. And what we try to do, honestly, with Mosa, we try to partner with people that are like-minded. So visionaries in the space. There are firms that won't allow certain materials into their library unless they meet certain quality. So firms that have a higher standard for themselves, as Mosa has a higher standard in IceStone, being cradle to cradle, that's who we want to partner with. And those are the people we are seeing, regardless, specifying sustainable materials.
Yeah,
Tyler, you hit it on the head there. We want to work with people that have higher standards. And that's who we sort of go after. And Ecomedes is the best place for that because,
Yep.
you know, we populate to the top of the list because of our impact score. So you can't get any more in front of people that way. So, you know, it's fantastic. It's fantastic that what we've done just populates us to the top of your list.
Right. It's just integrated into your process, regardless of
Right.
what you're looking for. You will come across because you have done the work. All of that commitment holds true for all of those certification processes that you've gone through.
Just one little part on that, Maya, I think it just goes to show right where we are now, based on Ecomedes being here, right, and having this platform, and there's a need there. So that's, you know, we see that trend going towards a more sustainable future, and people requiring and wanting to know, are they specifying safe, healthy materials?
Right, absolutely. I also, Doug, I also read that AIA study from 2020, and part of the feedback that I was, you know, kind of accumulating through reading that was the reality that a lot of architects and designers and buyers want to specify these materials, but sometimes a huge barrier to entry is just finding the information, right? And most of them are going to the manufacturer's website first to find this information. And it's, you know, speaking as a software provider that's specializing in the space of sustainability and transparency data management, it's a lot of work for organizations to manage certifications, keep them updated, make sure that that one certification that applies to 200 of my products is easy to understand which products it applies to. So that leads, I know we're running out of time here, but I quickly just want to touch on, you know, outside of, and you briefly mentioned it, but how have you leveraged technology in the more recent years to make it easier for the AEC community to find that information on your product so that it's easy to do business with you?
Well, I mean, just being able to have a website with, you know, to list all of our certifications, all of our fabrication guidelines, you know, all the HPDs, everything that someone wants to know about our product is you know, drillable on our website. And you know, having Ecomedes, which actually will take ours and compare it to somebody else, just actually helps elevate IceStone in every way.
Right.
When you're going to compare IceStone next to another countertop, there's going to be no comparison. So
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
that's why it's a great tool for us.
Yeah, I mean, when you brought that up, Maya, and we always say to benchmark two products, Tile World, holding them side by side. Yeah, aesthetically, but you never know. So now look, we say grab an EPD. EPDs are hard to read. People don't understand them. So now Ecomedes, you compare two products and it's black and white for you. We love it. So that's, you know, our technological advance is partnering with you guys. So glad to be a partner with you guys.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad to hear it. We have just hit the hour, so I want to make sure I'm respectful of everybody's time. I want to say thank you to our panelists. I really appreciate both of you taking the time to be here and allow me to interrogate you. Thank you everyone for joining this webinar. Again, we're going to send out the recording. If you have any other questions, maybe I didn't get to your question today and you really want to know, you can send me an email, maya@ecomedes.com right there. Feel free to follow up, and we will be hosting more webinars as the months go on. So keep an eye out in your email. Again, just as Tyler mentioned, please follow IceStone and Mosa and Ecomedes on our social media platforms. The three organizations, all of us are constantly pushing out more information into the marketplace around green building and transparency and green products in general. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. And thank you everybody so much for joining today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week.